We're on a mission to feed the future by helping farmers worldwide be more resilient, more productive, more sustainable for generations to come. Corteva Agriscience. Keep growing.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. It's the Farmer Rapid Fire today, which is brought to you by Corteva Agrisciences. Cross-spectrum herbicides from Corteva, checking all the boxes for cereal growers. Cross-spectrum herbicides deliver grass and broadleaf weed control in a powerful all-in-one solution. You can learn more by going to Corteva.ca. Big shout out to Corteva for being the exclusive sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. And today we got Steve Twynstra out of Ontario, Jay Lewis out of Ontario, Chad Beagle's in Alberta, Riley Anderson is in Manitoba, and we'll be joined by Corteva's Jason Smith, who will be joining us out of Saskatchewan. Now, if you have any feedback on today's show, we'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or of course you can call that RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. And we start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire in Ailsa, Ontario. We're talking to Steve Twynstra. Steve, how are we doing today?
Good, Shaun. The sun's shining here. We had some frost overnight, but it was 13 degrees yesterday. Sun shining, snow's just about melted. Starting to think about spring.
Yeah? Okay. What's the ideal start date? What are you working towards? Now, it may be earlier, maybe later, but what date are you working towards?
I'm showing my age a little bit. We used to say we'd like to get rolling by the third week in April, but the last 5 years it's been, early May sometime. May 5th would be kind of a nice day to get started. Of course, if we can't get going by the 21st of April. However, last year we had an extremely late season, and we got a little bit done in May, but most of the crop went in June. So I'm not sure what normal is anymore, but if we can get rolling on planting corn by the end of April, I'd be really happy.
Do you feel? Yeah. Do you feel ready?
Kinda. Wish our suppliers were, but we haven't got any corn seed in yet. Usually we get some in March, so I guess it is mid-March now. I got our forage seed in for our cover crop. It's ready to roll, which will start probably in another week. Let a little more snow melt and the ground firm up a little better. And we got our 28 in, and their ATS is booked. But as I said, waiting for our suppliers to get MAP and their phosphorus and potash pricing, and even urea in 28 would be a little ideal for the extra 28 we're going to need.
What are those suppliers telling you? Like on something like phosphate that tends to come out of the U.S. Is any of that delay relative to some of the threats of tariffs and all that kind of stuff?
I think there's a bunch in position right now, but this is typical for our area. And I'm not going to say there's not a lot of competition, but there's not a lot of competition. So I'll get 3 phone calls within 4 hours of each other all of a sudden when they decide they're going to come up with their pricing. And it's one of those deals, right? So
I hear you.
A lot of it is, I think, a lot of it comes into when the seaway opens up, which will be fairly soon. I know our terminals, we're shipping corn right now to one of the terminals on the Great Lakes because they've got a couple of boats lined up to come in soon, and they're starting to fill up the terminal. So I think it's going to happen pretty soon. When the days get longer like this and the sun's shining, and like yesterday we're out in a T-shirt loading trucks, it kind of feels like, hey guys, time to get your crap together.
Yeah, on Wednesday's show, we chatted with Neil Townsend of Grain Fox, trying to figure out what's going on in these markets. I know you're an astute marketer, so fill us in. What's going on?
Oh, come on, Shaun. There's a thing going on between Canada and the U.S. right now, and apologies to you guys in the West. I also understand there's a little spat going on with China, and that's not good for anybody. So we've been kind of pulling out of the market. I was at Commodity Classic last week. Had a chance to visit with our good friend Eric Snodgrass and listen to his presentation. Had a chance to listen to him again actually in January at another meeting. And let's think about the drought in the Midwest or the I-States kind of really has me intrigued. So I think we're not going to be too aggressively marketing at these rates right now. Saying that, our dollars helped our basis a little bit, but because of trade uncertainty, the basis is still a lot lower than it should be, I think, for this time of year. So there's also some seasonalities involved. June's usually a better time to market our crops. So when it's February, March, I just kind of sit back and watch things happen. Especially, too, we hedged ourselves on some of our inputs, and until we get a firmer price on our MAP and our potash and maybe some of the pesticides, then we'll maybe look if it makes sense to book some then midsummer. But right now, I think as far as markets go, like, darn it all, wasn't there a boat that sunk like a week within the last week or something of Ukrainian wheat, and the market didn't even respond to that. You know, a few years ago that would have been a market-making move, but it's old news now.
Yeah, I know. I was at Commodity Classic too. A lot of talk about dryness through the Midwest, and I was in London, Ontario on Friday night speaking to a group of growers. And man, we having beers afterwards and just, chatting about what's going on, just hearing a lot of frustration about this trade. Well, we'll call it a trade war between Canada and the US, and it's the small businesses that, it's the farmers or a supplier in town on both sides of the border where we kind of take for granted how much business we do with each other, because a lot of just horror stories in terms of concerns over pricing and potential tariffs, or where there was tariffs for 2 days, now they're off. It's just a nightmare.
And nobody seems to, it really applies to, like, beans, seeds exempt. When it comes to beans, machinery, harvesting machinery has got a tariff. No, it doesn't. Depends who you talk, 1 hour of the day. And this is kind of reminiscent of what we dealt with in Ontario, and I guess all of Canada, but it really did Eastern Canada work, I think, was the whole their tariff when it invaded Ukraine, and suddenly people woke up and, there's a 35% tariff on your nitrogen, which mostly for this area came out of that Belarus Russian region, or Black Sea region. And even guys that had prepaid were getting invoices, and we were supposed to get it refunded, never did, and just nobody wins. Farmers seem to take it, and I think at that time people were just PO'd, and we were coming off pretty high-priced years. Land values were increasing, and it hurt, but it wasn't mission critical. It's a different world right now. Like our commodity prices aren't what they were then. As I just mentioned, with the boat sinking with wheat on it, there's no market reaction to that sort of thing anymore. So we're taking all this extra risk on, and we're not being rewarded for it. And then add that to the favor that the Washington gave the U.S. farmer with the payouts that are in the mail, according to Brooke Rawlings, the U.S. Secretary of Ag, that we all heard at Commodity Classic. And we keep hearing, there's support for you farmers here in Canada. Well, darn it all, Shaun. I don't want another loan. I don't want a bigger advance on my APP. I just want to get a level playing field and certainty.
Yeah. Certainty being the key there, Steve. I think that's one, again, when we have it, we maybe don't appreciate it enough, because when we don't have that certainty, it just, it just feels like you're just naked and exposed to, like, the chill of the geopolitical winds. And I've heard from a lot of growers exactly what you just said. In the U.S., there's that $9.7 billion package. The U.S. corn grower is going to get $40 an acre, and they're talking about more MFP. Yeah, $40 US, by the way. And there is more MFP programming coming. Brooke Rawlings has been talking about that, Secretary Rawlings. And in Canada, it's a loan. And boy, it's just that just creates an imbalance right there.
My balance sheet would not appreciate having more loans attached to it at this point, and I think a lot of growers would emphasize with that too. And the thing too is I'm 40 minutes from the U.S. border here in Michigan. there's a lot of industry here that works both ways. When I came back from Commodity Classic, in my years, I've never seen that many trucks lined up on the U.S. side of the border. When I left to go to Commodity Classic, again, I've never seen that many trucks lined up heading into the U.S. So it's going both ways. So when I look at that, I just look at a simple factor and said that nobody's winning in this thing here. So, and the government on either side sure as heck aren't either once people understand how the system really operates. So, it's just disrupting our supply chains at a time of year when we don't need that. And you mentioned the frustration earlier. I think I'm showing it myself personally right now, but it's not just me. It's our suppliers that have to bring parts in. It's the truckers that have to sit at the border the extra 3 or 4 or 5, 6 hours to get across. That's happening. And saying that, like when I was at Commodity Classic, met a lot of American farmers there. And the ones that are at Commodity Classic, I think by and large, overwhelmingly, don't feel they voted for this kind of behavior. And so they see the disruption. We've had tremendous allies in their commodity trade groups that understand that we take a lot of soybean meal into Ontario and Eastern Canada. And, we also take a lot of ethanol up here out of the U.S. because our plants are at capacity. And, we're shipping some hogs and some fat cattle south, and because that's where the packers are. And to just break it down to numbers on a balance sheet, dollars, there's a lot of misinformation in that and disinformation. And, I'm just personally sick and tired of the narrative and just want to know what the end game is here. And it sure as heck isn't fentanyl, and it sure as heck isn't 50 per state, and it sure as heck isn't us trying to say we're going to retaliate and take it to the nth degree, but hopefully some sanity prevails sooner than later.
Yeah, well put, Steve. I really appreciate it. Hey, all the best to you this spring. Thanks for taking some time to chat with us, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Hey, anytime, Shaun, and I appreciate for taking up all your time ranting on my political beliefs and feelings, but I just wanted it to be told. So I think at the end of the day, we have to be optimists in this industry, and as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, the days are getting longer. The sun is shining now. One of these days, we're going to get a warm rain this weekend, and that's going to make things smell a lot better. And hopefully, that'll put a lot of bills under us. And by then, there'll hopefully be some resolution to these issues.
Yeah, that's what the Farmer Rapid Fire is all about, getting the raw perspectives from farmers and ranchers across the country. We'll be right back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, right after this. Big thanks to AGI for having us down here at Commodity Classic. Joined right now by Jeff Cruzen, Dryer Business Development Rep.
With a dryer, it's almost like an insurance policy. It allows you that flexibility to start your harvest earlier and control your harvest operations. We know we're going to have to dry some of it. We hope we don't have to dry all of it. The problem with taking your grain to a commercial operation to be dried is you're at their mercy. You don't have that flexibility. If it gets full, they have to shut down for the day. When you have your own dryer, then you have total control about how your harvest is going to move forward. Maybe you have an off-farm job. You need to have that flexibility to harvest your corn, but still hold your off-farm job. Let's say you're coming to me and you say, Jeff, what do I need for a dryer? What's an average harvest day for you? And then we're going to say, what's a big harvest day for you? And then we'll size the dryer around that. So we're going to plan for today, but we're also going to talk about where you're headed to in the future. A dryer is a large capital investment, but you also need to plan where you're going to be, not where you are today.
You can reach out to Jeff by going to egggrowth.com.
What people are excited about right now is Excite Bio Yield Plus. It's a phosphate-solubilizing ag biological that works on oilseeds, cereals, and legumes. I'm Eva Smuck, and I work at Excite Biotechnologies. For over a decade, we have been helping farmers to achieve healthier plants and better yields with our premium liquid inoculants. You can learn more by calling 1-855-EXCITE-BIO or by searching Excite Bio online. That's XITEBIO.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Corteva Agrisciences. And we are joined right now from Holstein, Alberta, or Ontario. I was going to say Alberta. Ontario, it is Jay Lewis. Hey, Jay, how are we doing?
Good, Shaun. Yourself?
Hey, what's the weather been like?
The snow's starting to go away. So I think we're down. The top of the knolls are starting to turn they're not snow anymore, so it's going. The sap's starting to run where we are here in Holstein, and it's spring's starting to feel a bit more like spring's in the air. So
yeah, well, it's in the so spring's in the air. Do you feel like you're ready for it when it hits the field?
No, in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 more weeks or 3 weeks, I'll be ready to go.
Yeah. What's the final prep? What's the final stuff that has to be done yet?
The drill has to go in the shop yet.
Yeah.
Everything else is done except for the drill. So
okay.
Once the drill hits the shop, then I think we're all good to go. We don't have any grains to plant in the spring, so the drill doesn't have to come out till soybean time, so that's okay. We got a bit of time to get that in and get it going. So I think everything else is pretty well ready to roll, I think.
And any changes at all this year to the crop? What's going in the ground?
No, I learned a few things last year. I think last year when we did the show, I told you I was going to grow, walk more stuff off the farm. And at the end of the year, I wished I had and I did try to do that. But at the end of the year, I learned that if I had just sort of stayed to my balanced rotation and kept through with, a plan that I'd laid out, whatever, that would have been just as far ahead and a little more balanced. So we're going to try to keep it balanced this year and keep going. I do not think there'll be any canola in our rotation. It doesn't work for workload for us, but I think we're still going to tackle a bunch of sunflowers and some edibles and corn and beans and wheat. Yeah.
Jay, you can really outsmart yourself. Right? Sometimes when you're like, okay, well, I'm going to eliminate this, I'm going to load up on this, or, there's even extreme cases where growers are like, oh, we're going to cut down from like 4 crops to 2, or maybe we're going all in on a crop. That does happen from time to time as well. I was listening to, it was Bloomberg Radio yesterday, and there was, a lady on who talked about how like people trying to outsmart the market. Like, when you like try to time things, you're in or you're out. Hey, I'm 100% cash or I'm 100% invest, and you're in and out and you're trying to time it. If you miss the top 2 performing days of the year, like say you time it wrong by 1 day and you miss out on one of the top days of the year. If you miss the top 2, you significantly underperform the market. And it's kind of the same thing with the crop rotation, right? When sometimes you try to outsmart yourself, it reminds me of that a lot. Yeah,
we just want to keep it for as much of anything. We try to look at our crop rotation for a work balance. Mm. We find when we load up too heavy in certain times of the year, it just doesn't work. So we try to lay our crop plan out so that it's sort of we're going to start combining and in the end of July, and we try to keep that machine running right through till when we're done without too many big breaks. Just sort of move it along, and then you throw those potatoes in there too. And September, if we load up in September, it's a pretty hard month to handle.
Yeah, logistics are a factor. That's a part of the crop planning. Logistics are a factor.
Yeah. It doesn't always boil down to the money, right? Well, it boils down to money. It all boils to money, but there are other things that have to come into account as well. Yeah.
You sounded like a true sheep farmer there for a second. It doesn't boil down to the money at all. It's just
no. The sheep industry is crazy right now. I know you don't follow it, but have you followed it at all lately?
No. Fill us in.
The sheep industry, the lamb, and I'll be careful how I say this, but the lamb industry right now is booming. The market is extremely hot. It's like the producers who are selling lambs right now in the market should be very, very happy with the returns that they're getting. I mean, I think they're probably at highs that we have probably not seen before, to my knowledge. Right now.
Lindsay's been a little quiet about this, by the way.
Well, she probably will be if she's selling lambs, yeah.
What's driving it?
I don't think there's enough lambs or enough ewes or enough lambs in the country. Probably the same as what's happened with the cow industry. There's just too many calls coming to the marketplace all the time, yep.
But there's the opportunity for import, though, right? There's the opportunity for import, or why are we not able to replace that vacuum of demand with imports?
Well, I think if you look at the world, and I'm not the smartest guy to comment on this, but I think if you actually look at the world stocks on sheep, I think you'll find globally that it's down from where it was. I think globally, I think it's trying to catch up to the marketplace, but like I think Australia does not have the use it used to have, and neither does New Zealand. And I think when you talk about exports or imports coming into Canada, those are the two countries that would import or export lamb to Canada, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, at a restaurant, like, you know, I think one of the most underrated things that it cooked really like to perfection with the right seasoning. Lamb is great. Like I really do enjoy lamb.
You betcha. If it's cooked properly, it's 100% a good meal. But if it's not cooked properly, it's maybe on the other end of that scale.
Yeah. It's a very thin wedge. It's a very thin line.
Very thin wedge. Yeah. The sheep industry has tremendous opportunity in it, I think, throughout it. Yeah. Yep.
What's your thoughts on we were just talking to Steve Twynstra from Ailsa, Craig, and you know we were talking about some of the challenges here with some of these tariffs and the just trying to do business. Never mind just the 100,000-foot stuff down here at the ground level. This whole thing is nothing but this thickening border is a major challenge. Have you run into any issues at all?
Well, we grow or raise cattle as well, so that's having an effect on producers here in Ontario, because there is a lot of cattle that do leave Ontario for slaughter. So I believe it's having an effect on us on what we're going to receive for our slaughter price on our cattle. I think the most effect it's having on us, though, is probably mentally trying to understand where to go. Like I think for us at Lewis Land and Stock, our problem is the unknown. Like I would, in some sense, I would just prefer to know where I'm going, and then let me deal with how I'm going to get there. If that makes sense, we want to know what's going on, and as everybody does. But I think as we as producers or farmers, when we know what the rules we have to play by, I think we'll adapt and I think we'll be able to overcome it. But it's the unknown that's making things very difficult for us to accommodate. Like, do we fill back up on replacement calves right now at the level they're at, or do we continue on buying lambs at record levels for feeders? I mean, and all that stuff should come back. It should have came back. Like some of the calf prices should have dropped back, and some of the lamb prices should have dropped back with our uncertain markets, but they're not. And I'm not.
Jay, I was just going to say, this is what I heard from farmers and from manufacturers and companies in the industry that are trying to service farmers. This is what I heard at Commodity Classic. Just tell me where we're getting to. Like, just this on again, off again, tariff, no tariff. We're doing this, we're doing that. Just tell me what I'm dealing with so I can plan accordingly. And it's not ideal. I'm sure it's not going to be ideal, but at least then I have, and Steve Twynstra used that word, certainty. At least I have some certainty in terms of what's in front of me that I got to deal with, not hitting me from the side.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a good term to use. My concern a bit about what's going on is how the financial institution is going to deal with new business or renewing business right now. And then I wonder how that's going to work. Like, I mean, I wonder why. I'll be careful my bank manager's not listening, but I wonder why a bank would say, you know what, let's renew that operating loan for these people with these uncertain times ahead. Like, I would think that's not something that we're talking about, right? Or I'm not hearing in our industry, but is it out there? Is it a concern other people are having as well? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I've been saying in my presentations that 2025 is the year where we're really, like, it's the year of the very good operational and management, the farmer CEO. right? Because I think you're exactly right. We are going to see this used, whether it's directly or indirectly, this kind of uncertainty used as a way to lop off some accounts that the bank wanted to shed, right? I think your question is absolutely spot on. Now, they keep on loaning money to people that want to open restaurants, and there's nothing more risky in the world than opening a restaurant. So maybe we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay. One thing about it, when the world when society goes through an inflation or has these issues, agriculture is a good business to be in. Agriculture is a good business. Like at the worst times, agriculture is a good business to be in. Is the right way I'd like to say it, and it's a good spot to be.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Hey Jay, all the best to you this spring. We'll catch up very soon. Okay, thanks a lot, bud.
Yep, thank you.
We'll be right back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience right after this.
At Alliance Seed, every seed starts the story of your success. With Alliance Seed varieties, you're not just planting seeds, you're planting the promise of a prosperous future. Our top-performing wheat, barley, oat, pea, and lentil varieties are tailored to meet the unique challenges of your farm, ensuring high yields, strong standability, and reliable disease resistance. Discover the Alliance difference at allianceseed.com or call 1-877-270-2890.
We are here at the Helena booth. Joining us is Alex Park,
the division agronomist for Wyoming, Colorado, West Nebraska, and West Kansas.
Heading into this 25 season, what are some of the agronomic things that growers are thinking about?
Efficiency, period. There's a lot of unknowns, so if we can take the edge off our risk by increasing the efficiency of, particularly on our fertility programs, and making sure that our fertility programs deliver us ecosystem services where things like phosphorus and potassium can deliver drought resilience, de-risks my operation, can be really huge for us. If I could beg anybody to do one thing, let's take a soil test. Find out what is in your bank. You spent a lot of money on this land. What's in the ground? How can we efficiently extract the nutrients at a reasonable pace at the right time? Can't do that without a soil test. Find out what your investment is, and that's going to let you make the right decisions on your fertility program. And if you don't have that, you're starting from a place where how much nutrients is that crop going to extract, and that's not as efficient as you could be.
Make sure you go to research.innovate-ag.ca or HelenaAgra.com. And welcome back to RealAg Radio for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agrisciences. And now we're going to stop in Morris, Manitoba, and we're talking to Riley Anderson. How are we doing, Riley?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Well, I'm living the dream, my friend. Living in a suitcase, nothing but free breakfast every morning at the hotels I'm staying in. I'm not sure. Could life be any better?
I hope the breakfast tastes good.
Yeah, it depends on the hotel, my friend. Sometimes the eggs are a little suspect. You know when you open those trays, like the tray, like the heat plate, and you're just sort of like, hey, I wonder what surprise is in store. Do those sausages look like I would actually entertain eating them? What is that egg concoction? Like it can be quite a challenge some mornings. It's really a test of your hunger.
Yes, I agree with you. And when I look at the hotel breakfast, sometimes I'm excited, but most of the time I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like when you go to the grocery store, you don't buy sausages that look like that. Yet I don't know where some of these hotel chains buy these sausages. Like where they're getting them from.
They're all the ends that are cut off the ones the grocery stores sell. It must be.
It's got to be something like that. Hey, you all ready for spring?
Oh, we're in spirit. We are, but in reality, we still have some work to do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to spring. That's for sure.
You tired of winter? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Oh, winter's almost gone here. It's like +5 and sunny out today.
Beauty.
Yeah, it's, the fields are black, and guys are starting to itch, getting ready to go. We still have a month and a half away from normal start, but we're starting to get itchy. Yeah,
this is where the discipline comes in, right? This is where you're like, oh man, I feel like we're so close, yet we're so far away. Is all the equipment set to go?
Pretty much. We have a few little things to do on our planter. and air seeders, pull it out of the snowbank, and check hoses, and good to go.
Oh, nice. Have you had a good winter?
Very good winter.
Okay.
Been exciting out our way. Bought a house with my wife and doing some renovations, so getting off the farm a little more than I normally would, and traveled to some meetings, so it was a busy winter.
Oh, good stuff. Well, that is exciting. Absolutely. Okay, so any changes this year to the cropping plan whatsoever?
Well, other than the cropping plan isn't set in stone yet, I think there's a few changes happening. We're gonna drop our wheat acres a little bit, up our oat acres a bit, and up our corn acres a lot.
Oh, you're going up in corn.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that just because the market's telling you to do so, or what are you seeing there?
That is, it's a little bit of a risk mitigation play. Here where I am, we're a net importer of corn from the U.S., and with these tariffs hanging over our heads, I know my corn is staying at home, and I know my price is going to be it's not going to be affected by the tariffs that much. And it's kind of a little bit of a risk mitigation play on that side of it, where the other commodities I grow, most of them we export south to the States. So we're feeling a little bit exposed that way.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with that strategy at all, to be honest with you. If you can get the corn yield and you know it's going to stay in Canada and that's where the market is, then yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, our one fear is the hogs going south. If that disappears, well, then there really is no market for our corn.
Well, you could ship it to southern Alberta for the cattle, potentially.
Exactly. Load some trains.
Yeah. CP's got trains running all the time. If you can get to a CP stop, you can put it on CP line going to southern Alberta for sure. Are you... how would you describe you just recognized, we've been kind of talking about with a lot of the farmers here so far on the show, is just how much just business is done cross-border. And it kind of feels like we've swung back to what it was like at COVID, where it's like, well, I can't get this. I don't know if I can do that. But in this case, you can do it, but it's going to be potentially more expensive. And it seems like we've jumped back to 2020 again.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite that bad here. Like, I'm 25 miles north of the North Dakota border, and we do a lot of business in North Dakota. And we just price check a little more than we did before. And to be honest with you, not much has actually changed on the ground, boots on the ground. Like, pricing on parts is very similar to the way it was before. And the only thing that really has hurt us is our exchange has gotten a little worse on the importing side. But on the exporting side, that's helped us. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But, like, as far as on my farm, the sentiment towards the U.S. isn't as negative as you get a little bit more further away from the border and less reliant on that U.S. trade, I guess. And I have a lot of friends on the other side of the line that are sympathetic to our position as well. So it's there's spaces on the other side of the border that I see. So it's a little bit better than the media or the reports of what's going on the other side of the border, because you get to see it yourself.
Yep. No, I think that's a very good point. I would share many of those same sentiments. You know, I live in Lethbridge, which is only about an hour, 45 minutes, depends on how fast you want to drive, from the Montana border. So I share that sentiment, is that, you know, there's a lot of cross-border trade that is done on a daily basis, and hopefully we can unwind this really, well, what I would describe as a completely unnecessary trade battle, trade war, however you want to put it. It's just going to end up costing both sides a bunch of money that doesn't need to be spent, but we'll see.
Exactly. And I believe that we need to strengthen our relationship, not fracture it. And I think that we need to have our political leaders get in and figure out how to strengthen that instead of making big statements in the media.
Yeah, well, hey, but it's not just on the Canadian side to do that. There has to be a willingness from the White House to show that they want to do it too, right? That's the big challenge here too, as well.
Yeah, no, it all comes down to leadership in the end, and our leaders and their leaders need to get in a room and figure it out.
Yeah,
that's the only way this is going to get solved.
Yeah, well put for sure. You know, it's interesting in terms of what we've seen. We were talking earlier this week about some of the equipment sales, and Canada's still doing some business in the tractor market. Combines have really dropped. U.S. is very poor sales on tractors and on combines. Farmers have definitely spoken with their wallets when it comes to machinery purchases. Is that kind of what you've seen around your parts as well?
Oh, for sure. The wallets have tightened up very aggressively here. Now, I'm kind of speaking on both sides of my mouth. We actually just bought a tractor, 4-wheel drive tractor today. So
okay.
When you see value, you got to attack it sometimes. And I think the used market is trying to find a home right now, and I might have jumped a little too soon, but the new prices are scaring guys away, and the used market was up there a little bit high, and it's starting to come down now, I find.
Yeah. How old of a tractor?
Still too high. It was a 2011 model, so it's nowhere close to new. It's a 13-year-old tractor, and I think that's why we could kind of capitalize on it. That close to new range is still very pricey.
But like you said, good value for a 13-year-old tractor, and so if it's in good condition and it fits what you need it for, then hey, good on you.
Yep, exactly, and that's kind of how we look at our machinery strategy. Is it's more about fit than price. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, price has a lot to do with fit, but we have to get our crop in the ground and get it out of the ground. And unfortunately, hands are tied. We need machinery, and we have to be a good steward of our money. And know when the shiny new equipment's there and we have a bunch of money sitting in the bank account, we got to think twice before we pull the trigger on it. But also, when the crop prices are down and there's equipment that's at a good value, that's a good time to go buy it.
Yeah, well put. Hey, Riley, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This is good.
Hey, great stuff. That is Riley Anderson out of Morris, Manitoba. We've got more coming up here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agrisciences, right after this.
There's power, and then there's superpower. Advancing the unstoppable superpower of pre-seed from New Farm. Take control. Eliminate weed competition and start clean in spring. Manage weeds early in canola, cereals, and pulses. Conquer, Goldwing, Thunderhawk, and Blackhawk EVO. Convenient formulations and multiple modes of action. Add more power to glyphosate, more benefits to your burn down. Go to newfarm.ca/burndown.
It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, the Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
And we are back here on RealAg Radio for the Farmer Rapid Fire, which is brought to you by Corteva Agrisciences. And right now we're stopping in Rimbey, Alberta, and we're talking to Chad Beagle. Hey, Chad, how are we doing?
Good, Shaun. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Okay. Well, hey, I guess you're running that store. You've got to be going flat out right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a busy time of the year. You know, we're kind of in between the two kind of calving seasons right now up here, right? The purebred and the early guys are kind of finishing up, and they're getting ready to get breeding again. And then, there's a lot of March calvers and then a lot of April calvers in this area as well. She's busy for sure.
Yeah, and you've talked before about how you're, part-time supplier, part-time psychiatrist. What's the mood right now? How are people feeling? They feeling good? Prices have been strong, but there's a lot of talk about tariffs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. We'll talk to one farmer, and he'll come in, and he's, optimistic that hopefully these tariffs won't, speed up the beef industry, as much as some other guys think. And, there's always the other side of the coin where some of them are like, oh boy, here we go. It's just so much uncertainty, I think, more than anything, Shaun.
Seems to be the word of the day, because you're everybody we have talked to has mentioned this word certainty. That word, that is the word, that is the password of the day indeed. How's winter been? Have you got lots of snow cover there in Rimbey?
Yes, we do. Well, we have been getting, we did have a decent snowpack. It kind of melted away, and then the other day we got a pretty good shot of snow, and then some other localized ones, and it sounds like there's another one coming, for most of the province. So as far as here goes, dugouts are full, and, sloughs are filling up. So on that side of things, it's the moisture side is looking pretty good right now, for sure.
Weather's good. Market's good. Maybe. Some people thinking about retaining some heifers. It may be. Maybe. Yeah,
I think so. I know there was a palpated heifer sale here in town on Tuesday, and very strong. And it looked really well. They touched $5,000 for yearling heifers. So. And then down a lot around that 3,500 to 3,600 as well. So, definitely still some optimism side on that. I think the numbers are down still around this area at least. And so people are, looking for some heifers to breed, and whether they sell or keep themselves, I'm not sure. But definitely a strong market on that side of things for sure.
If we were going to see some new people getting into the cattle industry, you'd be like ground zero for that, because people coming in to buy stuff from you would know right away if people were doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And lots of good questions on nutrition and making sure, breeding health and things like that, on the fly side, fly control side of things and stuff like that too. So it is nice to see. I do see younger guys, younger people coming in, whether they're taking over for grandpa or something like that. There definitely is some of that for sure.
Yeah, well, we the more the merrier. We need more all the time. And you've got a herd yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And how's that going?
Oh, good. Yeah, so we run 200, 250 of kind of the Simmental breed. We calve our heifers out starting here right away April 1st, and then the main herd starts about the middle of April. So,
and calving time, a lot of times we talk about harvest as and planting and seeding as the busy times, but calving is its own version of stress and just trying to manage all of it and the logistics and the around the clock nature of it and what you're set up to do in your calving operation. It's a busy time.
It is a totally busy time, and a lot of it, is weather dependent, and a lot of it is manpower dependent. And I talked to some of these old boys that are just they've done it forever at the store, and I take my hat off to them. One fella, he's 80 years old, and they were calving in that February cold stretch there, and he looked a little worn out, but I mean, it's just that nature, and it makes me think how many people would be able to do that. It's just amazing to me how some of these guys, up all night and working and pulling calves, or if they have to, and just constant going, and it's quite amazing actually.
Yeah, it is, and it's nice when you get the opportunity to kind of sit down with people like that and just have them tell some stories and talk, and you just kind of listen and
you just marvel at them, and their stories from, that's one of the things I think about with my kids. They're getting, to the late teens here and stuff, and the stories that they tell of how they, used to do things back in the day, and the stories that my grandpa told me, and to think that to try to put it into their terms, and for that they can't even grasp it. It is quite amazing, for sure.
Things that we wouldn't do now, and then you got all the technology that goes with it too, right? Like in today's world, there's a ton of stuff out there to help you.
Yes, and it's amazing, and the cattle industry is, I think is really kind of on the edge of that now, where you're starting to see some management systems, and the cameras and the barns that some of these guys are building. It's kind of the new age for sure.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you go, because I know you're super busy, how's the hockey season been?
Hockey season's going great. We were up in Camrose last night to watch my boy play against Fort Mac, and so they'll be wrapping up their regular season in Whitecourt on Saturday, and then my other son in Canmore, I think they're in Olds on Friday, so that'll be the end of the regular season. And it so far is looking that they might be facing each other in the first round of playoffs. So I don't know if I like that or not, but no, it definitely should be interesting and stressful.
Well, are they like the Chuck brothers, where we can expect opening face-off game one, they're going to go toe-to-toe with each other? Because I know their dad would do something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that gene went. They're not quite that way. The one is definitely more than the other, but no. All in all, it's good fun, and it's a crazy time of the season. But yeah, I think me and Kent actually, my brother that played with the Red Deer Rebels when I was in Swift Current, we had a couple of them too. But I don't see that quite with the younger generation.
Yeah, just like those old cowboys, things have changed, my friend. Things have changed. Hey, Chad, thanks a lot for joining us here today. I really appreciate it.
You betcha, Shaun. Thanks for the call.
Hey, we'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agrisciences right after this.
If you're applying a low-rate N stabilizer, you might be falling for a losing strategy. Low-rate products promise great results, but may lack the potency of higher active ingredient concentrations, so great isn't always what you get. Don't put yield at risk. Put your trust in proven solutions. Anval Nitrogen Stabilizer, Super U Premium Fertilizer, and Tribune Nitrogen Stabilizer from Koch Agronomic Services. These products offer higher active ingredient concentrations imitator brands can't match. See the difference at defendyourn.ca.
Find everything you need for outstanding weed control in your wheat and barley from the cross-spectrum herbicide experts at Corteva. Corteva is proud to offer a wide selection of cross-spectrum herbicides for maximum convenience, effective resistance management, and customized control of your toughest grassy and broadleaf weeds. No matter what kind of weed challenges you're experiencing, we've got the right fit for your farm. Visit Corteva.ca to learn more.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire today, which is brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. And we're joined right now by Jason Smith. He is the Portfolio Marketing Manager for Herbicides on the Broad Acre in Western Canada, I should say. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
Very good, Shaun. Very good. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Hey, so it feels like we're kind of close to spring, like we're middle of March, but I don't know. I'm in Grand Prairie, Alberta today. Does not feel like we're close to spring. It's like minus 15, minus 14, snow on the ground. And I know where you are in Saskatchewan, kind of the same thing.
Yeah. It's cooled off a little bit. We had that early onset of spring that kind of got everybody excited, but it's backed off a little bit and cooled off. But always a good reminder early March that, hey, spring is coming again this year, and time to start to get some of those plans in place and get that cropping plan and the herbicide plan in place, because it'll be upon us pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of times when we think about spring planning, we a lot of times talk about, seed and fert and having everything lined up and the machinery ready, but having a herbicide plan is not a bad idea too.
Absolutely. Some of it's just knowing what you're going to do. The other piece, I think, is just making sure that you've got what you need either on your farm or in your retail location when you need it, right? Because as we know, it can go from, hey, we're not spraying to we need to spray the whole farm in a matter of days, right? And once the weeds start to grow, we want to get on top of them.
So what's the best way to plan for that? Because, you and I grew up at a time, long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but we're getting a little bit older, Jay. But you used to just walk up to the retail and say, hey, I was out scouting this morning and I have this, this, and this. What should I spray? And then they would go to the shed and they would put the boxes on the truck and you would drive back to the sprayer. We can't really operate that way anymore. Things are a lot more, we're buying things a little bit more in bulk. We've got issues with logistics. COVID taught us all about that.
Yep.
So how do we plan in today's world of making sure we got what we need?
So, I think one of the things that I go back to, even the days when I was in the field as a TM, there's not many customers that don't know what they got for weeds in the field, right? They go over those fields in a lot of cases 4 or 5 times a year. They're not a lot of surprises. They got a good idea what's there. So I think it's very much around having that conversation, making sure you got what you need in place at the retail. And it's really picking the product or products that are going to give you the broadest range of weed control options. That ease of use flexibility is important. And then just knowing that, hey, you've got them there so you can get control of those weeds. Because we know that, as competitive as crops like cereals can be, it's not good to have weeds there. Anytime that we can get the crop up and out of the ground, a leaf stage or 2 or even 3 ahead of the weeds, that's when we know we're going to grow our best crop. And, Corteva's got a couple dynamite options for pre-seed that really help customers get a leg up on those as we're starting to plant those cereal crops.
Yeah. And the other part about that too is also added now what we didn't have to deal with when we were younger guys roaring around was herbicide resistance. And now that we're having to plan out the herbicide layering and the rotation, you got to plan your groups out, right? And so you kind of got to be ahead of that before springtime. One of the things I wanted to ask you about before we end is talking about Extinguish XL. Talk about that. What is that product?
Yeah, so Extinguish XL is a product that we launched late last year. It's a new product that really brings a lot to the table in that value piece from a standpoint. Hey, price point wise, it's very competitive, but it's also very competitive in the standpoint of, hey, it brings a real broad spectrum of weeds to the table. You've got that group of what I call the usual suspects, right? The kind of stuff that's on pretty much every farm in Western Canada. Things like flaxweed, lamb's quarter, red root pigweed, stinkweed, buckwheat, those types of weeds that are everywhere. Rock solid control and that sort of stuff, but it also brings that tougher to kill piece or that tougher to kill group of weeds, things that I would quantify as, say, cleavers, narrowleaf hawksbeard, roundleaf mallow. That was an oldie but a goodie in my old territory. And then storksbill as well, real big weed in a lot of areas in Alberta. And then it also gives you a little bit of that suppressional piece on that perennial broadleaf piece, or some of the longer-lived annual type weeds, like say a chamomile, Canada thistle, perennial south thistle for the perennial broadleaf. So it's really a robust, nice all-in-one formulation. We've got it in cases and in drums. That's new for this year. And it's an EC formulation that mixes nicely with those graminicide partners that customers want to do. And hey, talk to us about how do we pair it up with Simplicity for that real full meal deal weed control piece for guys for this year on the wheat.
Simplicity still going.
Oh, Simplicity's going strong, Shaun. So wow. Yeah, no, I think we're gonna have a great run on Simplicity. Wheat's again, there's more and more Group 1 resistance coming up. You talk about that resistance piece. Simplicity is a rock solid solution for that, and we have all kinds of demand for Simplicity this year. So yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna have a fabulous year in Simplicity.
Oh, great stuff. Hey, Jason, thanks a lot for joining us here today. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Shaun. Appreciate the time.
Remember, with Corteva, cross-spectrum herbicides from Corteva, checking all the boxes for cereal growers, cross-spectrum herbicides deliver grass and broadleaf weed control in a powerful all-in-one solution. You can learn more by going to Corteva.ca. Now, if you have any feedback on the Farmer Rapid Fire, you can give me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. Chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.